Okay, good everyone. Do you want to give like additional 2 or 3 minutes just for others to join? We have some other people that have joined here, but we just need the numbers to at least get to some point before we can proceed. So kindly hold on for the next 2 or 3 minutes, then we can proceed. Thank you. All right. Thank you everyone once more for joining this webinar series of mitigating cyber threat with ManageEngine solution. So this webinar is going to be more like a series. We are going to treat all the ManageEngine solution that relates to cyber threat. It goes from all the solutions, right? That's what we're going to treat in this series. So this first webinar will treat 2 of the solutions, and while the next we're going to treat other ManageEngine solution that really can mitigate threat, cyber threat. So before we proceed, I would just want to let you know where we are currently as Trantor IT. We are IT infrastructure company. We, I think everybody knows Trantor IT, the longest thriving IT company in Nigeria. Trantor IT brand was established in 1990. The Trantor IT Infrastructure Services Limited was founded in 2004 and has grown to have staff strength of over 300 wonderful people, whom over 250 are IT engineers. We currently serve 74% of the commercial bank in Nigeria and top companies across the manufacturing, insurance, government, oil and gas, and logistics industries. So our client and partner, we are technology partner performing IT infrastructure, management and optimization, business automation, outsource, technology management and support services. So we have over 250 highly trained engineers providing professional IT services and support. And we span over the 36 states of Nigeria and 99% SLA completion of our outsourced support contract. Our clientele is over 24 blue chip company, impressive customer base comprising of about 74% of the banks in Nigeria. So that is where we are currently in as Trantor IT. So we have about 24 blue chip company that we are currently servicing on ManageEngine solution and also IT support and outsource and IT support. So this is just a glance of the company that we have one way or the other have been supporting in terms of IT support and also in terms of ManageEngine and other solutions that we are selling. So to the topic of the day. So how unify endpoint management solution, endpoint management and security solution from ManageEngine. So now, because of the cyber threat that we've experienced in the last few years due to the lockdown, so most companies work remotely, and that actually exposed the endpoint of these companies and the users also to threat, and this has also affected the company as a whole. So now we, Trantor IT, the ManageEngine, has also proposed a solution that will be of help to mitigate this cyber threat. So we have unified endpoint management and security solution, which can actually mitigate cyber threat, either if you're using your endpoint from home or rather from the office. So now let me just give you an instance of what I was trying to. Annika, you can go back. So ManageEngine has been recognized as a strong performance in Forrester Wave in Unified Endpoint Management Solution in Q4 of 2021. So that has actually brought in that was actually one of the reasons why we are pushing this solution down to our resellers so that you can be able to push and also sell to your client, because I believe every client wants to ensure that their environment are secure, especially those ones that involve the use of digital financial services. So that is why this solution is very important. So why do you need a unified endpoint management solution at this point? A unified endpoint management solution provides end-to-end integration of your device management and endpoint security. So with this, you'll be able to get end-to-end security on all your device, because you can actually integrate your endpoint device management with this and the security endpoint of the security. Also, it also increases the workforce productivity without compromising data security. Now that most of your staff works remotely, with the use of this solution, you can be able to mitigate the threat level to assist, also increase the workforce of your staff, because they will not be the one looking out for those threats, because you have a solution that will be doing that already. So that also makes them focus on their own job functions. So that's what this solution actually does. So since attackers are at the lookout for entry point into enterprise network, with ever increasing number of endpoints that constitute your network, it will be difficult to manually manage the endpoint. Just like I said, because now it is now a norm for the attackers looking out for your flood, looking out for the loophole at which they can get into your environment. So with the help of this solution, you don't need to now put a particular person just sitting on that solution just because you want to ensure that it's secured. But with the endpoint management and security solution, you don't need to worry about that. The endpoint management and security solution will manage everything automatically. So it's difficult for someone to start managing this solution, managing this endpoint manually. So with the solution, you can as well manage as well as 20,000 endpoints at a single console. That's what this solution is all about. So I would want us to take advantage of this solution and push it to our prospective client. So how unified endpoint management and security solution aid organization? So this is more like what this solution has been able to do in most of the organization. So manage a device arrays of IT endpoint includes smartphone, tablet, laptop, desktops, smartwatches, smart TV, and smart TVs and browser across multiple areas. So this is what this solution does. So because you have your devices with your staff, they are working remotely, some have their tablets, laptops. So with this solution, you need not to worry about what they are using these devices for, and at what point maybe at what point this cyber threat might, as in at what point the security, as in you don't need to worry about the security aspect of this endpoint that you've issued out to your staff, because what the solution does is that it actually manages all the endpoints. It protects the device block or allow apps, monitor threat, and reduce the risk of corporate data. For example, you have devices that you issue down to all your staff, your laptop, and with this solution, you can as well from any point you have, you can actually block some app and check some threats that are actually you've been noticing. You can also with that we push out those threats and also protect the device with this solution. So it's not something that is rocket science. It's just for you to have it in house. Once you have it, you can also protect all your endpoints. So we have a particular solution that can actually handle all this, right? And that's the MDN. Also, you can do an automated patches, right? Pushing patches to all your OS. Over 350 third-party applications is available on this solution. So, because for the fact that you can push patches and update all your OS, it will be difficult for you to be exposed to cyber threat. So these are what this solution does. Significantly reduce hardware and software expenses with timely asset scan, software metering, and also and software licensing management. So this solution also helps you in ensuring that all your licenses are up to date, as well as giving you the vulnerability of your assets. Right, you have an asset in your environment. You want to know what this asset, who is using this asset at a given period of time, and what the asset is being used for, and you want to get a timing on when this asset is going to this software to have this understanding at every given period of time. But with these solutions, you should be able to get that. So also UEM solution monitored, manage, and troubleshoot issues faced by your remote workforce over remote control sessions. So that is what this solution does. It actually monitor all the issues your remote workforces are encountering right from the single console. You can be able to monitor and also resolve any of the issues, and also troubleshoot. So we have each of this line item. We have solution that does that. You can enter into your colleagues and endpoint and also try to resolve whatever challenges or he or she is encountering, and also troubleshoot while working remotely. So that's achievable using our UEM solution. Integrate with different help desk solutions to perform endpoint management tasks from your help desk console, and also utilize single sign-on. So with this solution, you can integrate your help desk solution to it. With that, you can be able to trigger alert in terms of if there is any critical need within the environment. You can actually get alert, and also have a single sign-on on all the solution that you have in-house, so to avoid threat from the outside. So regularly scan your network to detect and remediate vulnerability, threat, and misconfiguration and high-risk software. So these are the solutions. These are what the UEM solution of ManageEngine does. So we are going to take up this solution one after the other. And like I said at the earlier stage of this webinar, I said ManageEngine solution has various endpoint solutions that can actually meet all these line items I just mentioned. And we have the desktop central mobile device manager plus that does more of the management of your devices. The desktop central unified endpoint management solution to actually manage all your endpoints end to end. So, and why the patch manager plus does automatic patch management of your IT solution. And also we have OS deployer that does the automated deployment of OS, and vulnerability manager, device control, browser security plus, application control, patch manager plus, patch connect plus, and the remote access plus. So these are the endpoint management solution I was trying to explained to you earlier in the last slide, and all this will be treated in series. For example, we have you can chase it through the slide here. We have endpoint management, we have endpoint security. So some of this solution does endpoint management, while the other does the endpoint security. So we are going to be able to focus on the endpoint management today, right? So in the next series of our webinar that might be coming in the next month, we are going to treat other aspects of the unified endpoint management solution. So our focus for today will be on the Patch Manager Plus. So a Patch Manager Plus does more of the automated patch management of automated patches, as in sending of patches to all endpoints. For example, if you have 20,000 endpoints in an organization, it will not be wise, and it's not even the best practice for you to start pushing patches individually manually to this endpoint. So the best solution that is required is the Patch Manager Plus. You could just be at a center point, a single point, pushing patches to over 20,000 endpoints without even affecting your daily activities. So with this solution, you can as well do other job while the patches you want to send to your endpoint are being sent. You can configure it. You can also program it to the point that you want patches to be sent to all the endpoints at a particular given period of time, maybe like 11 a.m. at night, or when nobody is using the endpoint. You can send patches to all this endpoint and ensure that all the your endpoint are updated. So this is what solution of ManageEngine does. So it is the work of the IT manager, because the IT manager might be looking out for other activities apart from the sending of patches to all the endpoints. So with this one, you save costs, you save the time of the at which these guys will be using to, because if you want to do that manually, in fact, it might even take a whole month just to send a single patches if you want to do it manually. Imagine an enterprise environment where they have different branches in different regions. So you mean the IT guys will start moving from one branches to the other just to send patches, of which something you can do at your own at a given period of time without even having to be present there. All you just need to do is just to send an automated patches to all the endpoint, and they get the updated version of the patches, and that is done. So at this point, I want to introduce my colleague, Anoika. He's a specialist in this endpoint management solution. She's going to take us through this session on UEM solution of ManageEngine, which is going to be which the focus is going to be on the Patch Manager Plus today. And I think we're going to have the best of time, because one is a specialist in this field, and she has deployed a Patch Manager Plus in one of those big chip companies that you know, and in the likes of about 75% of the bank in Nigeria, which we are covering. Most of them are using this solution. Also, the insurance company and the manufacturing industry too are actually using this solution. So I would want to use this without wasting your time, just to introduce the Anoika. So Anoika, kindly take up this session, and I will be back in after she has finished her session. So thank you. And also I want to let you know that you have access to ask questions using the tabs. Look at the tabs, you have access to ask questions, use the chat box. You can ask questions why she's presenting. So at the end of the session, we would be able to answer every of your question. And also feel free to reach out to me if you have any challenge during the in the course of this presentation. So we'll be able to treat your request. Thank you very much. So Anoika, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Henry. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Anoika. I'm the Senior Technical Engineer for Tranta IT. So today we are going to be looking at Patch Manager Plus as a part of Unified Endpoint Management Solution. So like Henry have said, we have ManageEngine has a unified endpoint management solution and a unified endpoint security solution. Both are related, they're similar, but they do different functions. One is for endpoint management, the other is for endpoint security. And under endpoint management, we have different solutions under them. And for endpoint security, we have different solutions under them too. So from here, you'll be able to see the solutions under endpoint management, and we'll be able to see the solutions under endpoint security. So today, I'm going to be talking about Patch Manager Plus, how you can use Patch Manager to mitigate cyber threats, which is the topic of the webinar today. So how you're going to use Patch Manager Plus application from ManageEngine to mitigate cyber threats. How you're going to use them to manage all the different endpoints you have in your organizations. So as a reseller, anytime an organization presents a problem to you related to endpoint management, and you've been able to notice the challenges that they're having, you can then prefer Patch Manager Plus application to them, which can help them to mitigate those cyber threats that they're currently facing. So ManageEngine Patch Manager Plus is an all-round automated patch management solutions for Windows, Mac, Linux, and third-party applications. So, enterprise organization these days, they function on multiple or varying endpoints. So they have different endpoints in the environment, different endpoints with different operating systems. Some used to have Windows, some used to have Mac, some have Linux. So managing all those endpoints challenging to the IT admins. But with Patch Manager Plus, it will give you the process of patching for Windows operating system, for Mac operating systems, for Linux operating systems, and for third-party operating systems, third-party applications in your environment. Now, one of the major consuming tasks for IT admin mostly is patch management, because every now and then you need to be updating your systems. So attackers always find it interesting when they notice that this organization or this environment is vulnerable. And what can make an environment vulnerable is due to patches, not updating your patches. So when they discover that, that would be like a pathway for them to penetrate your environment. So it's always very good for you to patch your environments, update your systems regularly, and doing them manually can be very, very tedious and a lot of tasks for the IT admin. That's why you need a solutions that can automate all those activities for you, which ManageEngine Patch Manager Plus can do very well. So like I've said, why do you need a patch management solution? You actually need a patch management solution for you to be able to automate all your patching process, for you to be able to test and approve your patches. It's not about patching. It's all about deploying stable patches to your endpoint. So you need to test your patches, you need to approve them, you need to ensure that those patches are good before you deploy them out to your production environment. Imagine whereby you didn't test a particular patch and you've already installed it in all the endpoints you have in your organization, and from there to be causing issues. That will bring down time in your environment, and it will reduce the work productivity. So it's always good for you to be able to test your patch before you deploy them. Test it, approve it before you deploy it out to your production environment. So looking at this graph, vulnerabilities are always on the rise. So like I've said, hackers are always on the go to look out for organizations that are vulnerable. And one of the major ways of organizations being vulnerable are through patches. So every now and then, vulnerabilities are always on the rise. So these are what's the graph for since 2019, 2018, 2017. This is just 2019, 2018, 2017. So we have every now and then, every year, attackers develops new vulnerabilities, new threats, and with that, they'll be looking at how to penetrate into organizations' network to manipulate their environment. So that's why you actually need to have these solutions, or you need to have these solutions to protect your environment from these attackers or hackers. So like I have said, Patch Manager Plus provides a single interface from where you can completely automate all your patch management tasks across various OS platforms like Windows, Mac, and Linux. So it doesn't just manage Windows operating system. It manages both Windows, Mac OS, Linux OS, and also third-party applications. It's very difficult for you to see an application that do all these three functions in one. For example, the competitive solution of this Patch Manager Plus is SCCM from Microsoft. So SCCM only does patch management for Windows operating system. SCCM doesn't manage third-party applications, it doesn't manage Mac OS, and it doesn't manage Linux operating systems too. But Patch Manager Plus does all this all from a single console. So with Patch Manager Plus also, you can patch 1,000 applications, that is the third-party applications. And you can also patch drivers and BIOS too from the application. Okay, so like a wide range on it and then use it to and I need to clarify on what endpoint means. Endpoints can be servers, endpoints can be computers, your desktops, your laptops, with different operating system editions. So endpoints, you can use Patch Manager Plus to manage your servers, you can use Patch Manager Plus to manage your desktops, you can use Patch Manager Plus to manage your laptops. So those are the endpoints. So these are we'll be looking at the features of Patch Manager Plus. So these are a sneak peek. The first is the automated patch management. So instead of you manually updating patches from the console, you can automate the patching process. So the application will be able to identify the whole systems having missing patches, to be able to test those patches, be able to deploy those patches based on the deployment policies that you've already created. So you don't need to every now and then log into the application to push patches to a particular system. Once you've already automated the process will be running. It will be running concurrently until all the patches in your environment have been patched. So how you manage those endpoints, first of all, or how you onboard those endpoints to the application is by installing agents. So without installing that agent, you won't be able to onboard all those endpoints that you have. That's your servers, your desktops, your laptops. You won't be able to gather them all under one umbrella. So that agent installations helps with communication between this Patch Manager Plus server and your client computers, that's and your endpoint. So after installing the agents, that's when you can be able to perform all these functions of Patch Manager Plus. So the first one is automated patch deployment. The second one is cross-platform and heterogeneous endpoint support. That is, can support it supports different OS and different endpoints. So it's not just a particular brand of endpoint that it supports, support different endpoint, heterogeneous endpoint, and cross-platform OS, whether they are Windows, whether they are Mac, or whether they're Linux operating system. So another feature of Patch Manager Plus is the flexible deployment policies. So you can create your own deployment policy. Deployment policy is when you actually want that patch to be deployed, how you want those patches to be deployed, and the time you want the patches to be deployed. Those are the deployment policy. After deployment of patches, what do you want to happen next? Do you want the system to restart? Do you want the system to shut down, or you don't want anything to happen at all? So those are deployment policies. So you can configure your deployment policies, different deployment policies to fit a particular purpose. You might have critical servers in your environment, critical laptops in your environment, and it's not the particular policy that you apply to servers that you apply to workstations. So you can create different deployment policies and you can customize them because it's flexible. So the next features of Patch Manager Plus is the test and approve patch. So it's always very important, very, very necessary for you to test your patches before you deploy them to the production environment. So if you don't test your patches, it might result to downtime, it might affect your system because it's not so you need to test the patches based on the different OS you have in your environment. If you have Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2016, it's not patches that will be applicable to 2016 that will be applicable to 2012. That's why you need to test your patches before you deploy them out to the production environment. And once you've already tested them, the application can be able to detect which particular patch fits a particular endpoint once that particular patch has been approved. So if you've already tested, provided your test systems, tested those patches, during the deployment, the application will scan the endpoint to know if that particular patch is missing. If it is missing, it will check whether you've tested those patches and if those patches have been approved. If those criteria have been checked, that's when the deployment will take place. So the next feature of Patch Manager Plus is declining of patches based on enterprise needs. So you can decline patches. There are some patches that there are some applications or software that when you upgrade them, it might not, the functionality may decline. So what's mostly IT admin or IT manager do is to decline those softwares from upgrade. So for example, if you are running for programmers, there are some softwares that don't need to be upgraded. They need to be running on that particular version. If you upgrade it or downgrade it, it's going to affect the performance of the application. So once you've already noticed those softwares, all you just need to do is to decline those softwares from patching. So you can decline patches based on enterprise needs. You can also, it has a robust reboot policy. So there are some patches that after deployment, it will ask you to restart your system. So you can customize your policies to reboot or not to reboot. So for example, I don't know if any of you have done Windows OS upgrade. So during Windows OS upgrade, it will ask you not to shut down your system when the patch is being applied to that system. And after the patch has been applied to the system, it will ask for a restart because it's a critical patch. If it is not a critical patch, it will not ask for a restart. But if it's a critical patch, it will ask for a restart. But if you want to postpone the restart, you can do that. But if you want to restart now, you can actually click on Restart Now. So with Patch Manager Plus, you can define those policies. What happens when a critical patch has been pushed to this endpoint? Do you want the patches to, do you want the systems or the endpoint to restart? Do you want them to reboot, or do you want them to shut down? Or do you want them to, do you want it to be user defined when you actually want those activities to be done? So you can customize different reboot policies for your endpoint. And the last feature of Patch Manager Plus is the reports and compliance audits. So we have different kind of reports that you can generate from the application, and different compliance audits for compliance departments mostly. So there are some compliance reports that they need, such as the SOX, the HIPAA, and the rest. So you can generate different reports based on this application, based on your needs at that particular point in time. So how does this Patch Manager Plus application works? Is it that when you install the application will be able to will discover all your endpoints, and from there patches will be deployed? So it has processes, it has steps. So it has 4 major steps for you to manage your endpoint. So after the installation of the agent, which I've earlier described or talked about, agents is just a lightweight software that enables communication between the Patch Manager Plus server, whether you are using the on-premise edition or the cloud version of the application, and your client systems and the endpoints. So without those agents, you can't be able to patch your systems. You can't patch your system or perform any of the patch management process. You can't do that. So once you've already installed the agent, the next thing the application does is to detect those missing patches. That's the first thing. So once the agent has been installed, the application the endpoint. And what scans the endpoint is those agents that you've already installed. So after scanning the endpoint, to be able to detect the number of missing patches you have in your environment, the number of installed patches. And from there, you can now automate those patching processes. So once you've already detected, you test your patches. Like I have said earlier, it is important or very highly recommended for you to test your patches. So you can skip one step. You can from detect go to deploy. But for best practice, it's good for after detecting, you test your patches before deployment to your production environment. And after you've tested those patches, and those patches are compatible with all the OS platforms you have in your environment, that's when you can then automate the patch deployment. Once you automate the patch deployment, you can then generate the report. Is this patch, is this software being deployed, all the patches being deployed to the endpoint? How many endpoints got this particular patch? How many failed? Why did it fail? So you'll be able to see different reports and the remarks on those reports on why a particular patch failed. So from there, you'll be able to know the next step too. So those are the 4 steps of patch management process. So what makes Patch Manager Plus special? So what's actually made them special is their features, the features of the application. The first is the automated patch management, for you to automate all the entire process of patch management, right from scanning, right from detecting, deploying those patches and generating the reports. So another is one solution across OS platforms and devices. So you can deploy 1,000+ application across your Windows, across your Mac OS, across your Linux endpoint. So for Windows, it supports till the latest Windows 10 version 2004. So we have the latest Windows 10 version is 21H2. So it supports to the latest Windows version. But sometimes ManageEngine doesn't, Windows, Microsoft doesn't support some operating systems because they've reached end of life. So in that case, ManageEngine, Patch Manager Plus will list the patches available to you, and it will show you the patches that have reached end of life, systems that have reached end of life. So once you be able to detect the systems, discover the systems that have reached end of life in the environment, you can choose to upgrade the OS or to hand them off from your network. So we have Mac OS, we have Linux operating system, and for Linux, it supports Red Hat, so say Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, and Pardus Linux versions. So it's also support 350 plus third-party applications. For endpoint, support laptops, servers, desktops, workstations, and also with Patch Manager Plus, you can perform distributed and remote patching. So what this means is that if you have different subsidiaries, for example, you have your head office here in Lagos, and you have other branch offices across the whole country. So instead of you installing Patch Manager application in all the branches, all you just need to do is to install one on the head office, and from that head office, you can be able to manage all your branch offices by installing distribution server in all those your branch offices. So with Patch Manager Plus is you can be able to manage your branch office endpoints. So you don't need to be going around buying one application for one branch. Yeah, you don't need to be going just be buying one application for one branch. For Enugu, you buy one Patch Manager Plus application. For Abuja, you buy one Patch Manager Plus application. All you just need to do is to get one and then provide your distribution server across all those your branches, and you can be able to manage that with your head office. So another feature, or what makes Patch Manager Plus special, is that it manages roaming users too. So it's not only people connected to the office network, so patches their endpoints. It patches roaming users too. So that's why it is available both in cloud and on-premise. Cloud means it's being hosted by ManageEngine. You just need internet. Once you have internet access, and once agents have been installed on those systems, anywhere you are, patches will be pushed to you based on the deployment policy configured. Then if you are using on-premise environment and you want to patch your roaming users, all you just need to do is to publish the IP address of the server where Patch Manager Plus is hosted, so that map it to a public IP address, and from there, once the user can reach that public IP address from outside your company's network, patches will be pushed to those systems based on the deployment policies configured. So we've already talked about test and approve patches, that with Patch Manager Plus, you can be able to test patches on a group of systems before deploying them in bulk. You can also decline patches that cause issues in the working environment during testing. So during testing of patches, you can be able to detect the patches that can cause issues. So, and you can decline them during those test period. So imagine if you didn't test those patches and you've already deployed them to the production environment. Imagine the havoc is going to cause, the kind of downtime is going to cause, the kind of incident we'll be getting. One user will be complaining that my system, I cannot use my keyboard, I cannot use, since they patched this system, I cannot use my keyboard, my screen is flickering, or my system is slow. Those are the kind of reports you'll be getting when you test a particular patch. So with test and approve functionality of Patch Manager Plus, you can decline patches that cause issues in the working environment. So you can also configure system health policy. So our system health policy is for you to measure the system health status of your endpoint environment. So the system health status is whether this system, if they're highly vulnerable, if they are vulnerable, or if they are healthy. So there are some criteria that need to be met. There are some criteria that you need to configure on the system before the application can detect whether a system is highly vulnerable, or a system is vulnerable, or a system is held. So with that report, you can be able to use it to take an informed decision. So you can also configure flexible deployment policies. You can generate different kinds of reports. You can customize query reports. You can audit to ensure patch compliance. You can glance and know patch summary dashboard. So these are the reports you can get from Patch Manager Plus. So how does Patch Manager Plus benefit your organization? So number one is that it reduces the capital and effort spent in patch management. So because the application supports both Windows, it supports both macOS, supports both Linux, even third-party applications. So it reduces the capital, and you can all manage all this from one console. So it reduces the capital you spend in managing different OS versions, and also the effort spent in patch management. That is the manual patching, native patching, by going to the system, connecting to the internet, downloading the patches without even testing them and installing them. So it reduces the effort spent in patch management. So it eliminates 90% of the time spent on patching. Is an integrated console. It supports heterogeneous environment. It delivers maximum endpoint security, and is very easy and flexible and easy to use. It's very user-friendly. It's not something that requires an in-depth knowledge for you to be able to use the application. If you log on to the demo page is very, very user-friendly. Someone that's haven't used the application before, once he or she logs on to the demo or to the application, you'll be able to navigate easily. Because as you're navigating, there will be a how to use to be showing you how to get this particular report, how to configure this, how to configure that. So the application is very, very user-friendly and in-depth knowledge before you can be able to use that. So the editions available, we have the professional edition of Patch Manager Plus, and we have the enterprise edition. So it's not what is available on professional that will be available on enterprise. So based on your requirements, that's when a particular edition will be advised for the organizations to use. But the highest edition is the enterprise edition. But and enterprise is always more expensive compared to the professional. So we have professional, we have enterprise. So that's all about Patch Manager Plus. So in summary, Patch Manager Plus is an all-round patching tool, automated tool that can use to manage your endpoint and also to patch different OS. So it supports macOS, supports Linux, supports your Windows environment, and also third party. And there's automation part of it. You can automate all your patch processes. You can create different deployment policies that you want. You can test and approve patches all from a single console. So with Patch Manager Plus, it helps to mitigate cyber threats. So cyber threat is not when you've already an attacker have already penetrated the environment. With this application, to be able to prevent it prevents the process of hackers penetrating your environment by showing you the patches that are vulnerable, the missing patches available in your environment. So with that, you'll be able to update all your systems and ensure that all your endpoints are secure. So that's how Patch Manager Plus helps to mitigate cyber threats in your environment. I don't know if you have any questions with respect to Patch Manager Plus. Is if you have, you can drop them on the chat box or question and answer session so that I can take them one after the other. Okay, so I have one question from David Stoney. He asked, how do we install patch management solutions without disrupting, or are we having a separate server and integrating, or are we integrating to the existing live servers? So if you want to install patch management solutions, it's available in two editions, whether you are using the on-premise or cloud. For the cloud, all you just need to do is to create an account with ManageEngine, and you can be able to use the application. But on-premise, you need to provision a server. Once you provision the server, you download the application and install the application in that server. Once the application has been installed, it doesn't disrupt any user, it doesn't disrupt users from working. Once you've already installed the application on that server, you roll out the agents. So there are three ways in which you can roll out agents to those endpoints for you to be able to gather all those endpoints in one umbrella. So we have the manual approach, whereby you download the agents file, go to the individual systems and install. That's number one approach. Number two approach is for you to automate the agent installation. But for you to automate the agent installation, there are different things that you need to, there are prerequisites for that. You need to turn on your file and printer sharing, you need to disable antivirus, you need to, if your firewall is blocking some ports, you need to whitelist some ports from the firewall and the rest. So there are some prerequisites because we are trying to deploy agent, a software across the network. So there are things you need to do before that can happen. So those are the process. It doesn't actually disrupt. Once you've already made provisions of those requirements, automating the agent installation is smooth. It doesn't interfere with the user's work or anything. And it doesn't even need users intervention for you to be able to install the agent, unless if you are choosing the manual agent installation path. So I don't answer your question, but if you are using cloud version is that it's already hosted with ManageEngine, under ManageEngine environment. All you just need to do is to create an account. Once you've already created the account, you need to add your domain. And we have two ways of pushing agents in that one too. Add your domain on that application. But since it's cloud, you need to provide a bridge, something that can act as an intermediary between that cloud server and your environment. So you need to provide a distribution server. So with that distribution server that you've already provided, all you just need to do is to install agents on that particular server that you call distribution server. Once you've installed an agent on that distribution server, the cloud solution will be able to see all the endpoints in your environment, because it actually needs a communication between the two. So cloud cannot just from the air know the number of systems you have in your environment, in your local environment, without a bridge. So you need to provide a distribution server for that. That's the first part. Then the second one is the manual installation. Download the agent, manually install it on that system. And once the system is connected to internet, patches will be pushed to that system. So that's how you can install Patch Manager Plus or install the agents. Yes, after this presentation, the slide will be shared. The channel sales manager will share the slide. That's me.
All right, Anurika, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. So I want to believe that every one of us is actually gain one or two things in that presentation about Patch Manager Plus. So we are going to share this slide at the end of the webinar. Not actually today, because we have another webinar tomorrow, and that will be for the ManageEngine MDM Plus. So that is after that webinar, we're going to share the slide to every one of us. But I just want to believe that we learned one of two things in today's webinar, and also the importance of Patch Manager Plus. So they are most times you see us pick each of these solutions, not because we just felt like is the need to share this the solution to you, but it's because of the continuous requests that we get from our client on this solution. That is why we are also felt the need to also introduce it to our partner, just for them to resell to their own client. So what I'm just trying to say is that I want to encourage you to use this opportunity to push the solution to your client, and the Patch Manager Plus, you push it to your client, because that's what most of the enterprise and also enterprise industry actually want to get right now. So I can tell you, within just this week, I've done about four to five demo presentation with a client on this Patch Manager Plus solution. So that's just what it's all about. So we're going to take your questions, right? We're going to take your questions at the end of this webinar. So keep typing in your question, sending in your question. We will treat it at the end of the of this session. Okay, so I believe that some of us are familiar with this, but we would not stop until we start having this done by all the partners. So I just want to give you a brief of what we as Jonta IT has been doing over the years that is yielding results for us. So we felt the need to share it with our partners, right? So what are the steps you're going to take for you to be able to close the deal in ManageEngine? So we have different sales process, but sometimes sales process is not something that is written in black and white. You one, we send proposal for why after we have identified the needs of the client, because the client would have reached out to you stating their challenge, or the what they want to achieve, or we call it their pain. So when the client shares his or her pain with you, then you can be able to identify what solution that can undo such client's pain. So that is when you now, send a proposal to share with the client, while the client goes through the proposal and see that, okay, fine, this solution can actually treat my request or my pain, as the case may be. Then you want to propose a demo presentation. A demo presentation in the case where the client will now see how this solution will be able to treat his or her request. So that's what we do here in Plancha IT. And after which you've done that, you register your deal, right? You go to our website, untitled.com, click on the event tab, and register your deal. The reason you are registering your deal is for you to get that deal protected. As a partner, most times the other people will want to say they are the one that has been engaging the client, because probably they have a relationship with some other people in that environment. So, but as a partner that knows what he or she is doing, it's preferable and is advisable for you to register your deal. Once you register your deal, I'm going to get a notification at our own hand, and should note that somebody is already in that account. So, and registering your deal also gives you opportunity to get discount from the OEM while you are pushing the opportunity. That's one of those things that we push to our partners, to ensure that all these are registered, so that will not be having conflict at the end of the day. So once that is done, then you can share a questionnaire. We have what we call a questionnaire on all this solution. Once that is sent to a client, with that questionnaire, you should be able to get the best of the client requirement, because the questionnaire has to do with it will drill down to some questions asking the question that actually going to treat their pain. So once that is filled, we can use that to generate codes. And I believe once a code is generated and shared with the client will as well look at it. Oh, does this really meet my budget for this year? If it's not going to meet your budget for this year, you can as well push that to the next quarter or next year, as the case may be. So, but it's important you share the costing, the pricing with your customer or your client before engaging in POC, because it's the pricing or the cost that would drive the need for POC. So if it's something that they look at is beyond their budget, then they might not want to go in for a POC. But once you have done a POC and you want to share price, then it's like you jump a step in the process. So it's important to ensure that the client knows the cost implication of the solution before engaging in POC. So after POC is done, right, at the point of the engaging the client on POC, it's important for us. What we do, we visit the client environment, try to see if that pain they are actually concerned about has been met in the course of the POC, and what are the challenges that they're encountering while using the solution during the POC, time of the POC. So we will not wait for that POC to end before we get all these questions. So those are the things that we do. So while the client is having an issue using the solution, we ensure that it is resolved before the end of the POC. So, but I believe once the client is satisfied with the solution, either using issuing PO or making payment. Then next is deployment. And once deployment is done, we don't just stop. We ensure that we engage the client on what we call health check. Health check in the sense that you get the solution, you're using it in-house. Are you truly using it? Are your staff truly using this solution? Has it been able to resolve your complaint or your pain, as the case may be? So once all these have been treated and have been done, and we find out that the client is happy using the solution, then we now think about how we can cross-sell cross-sell other solutions. So these are the things that we do here in Cantor IT, and we want to encourage our partners to also follow suit while engaging their client. It is important so that we'll be able to get more deals closed. So like we said earlier, these are those things that we're going to share with you. We are going to share the solution books, data sheet on Patch Manager Plus, flyers, and brochure link. So I saw a question asking for a link for Patch Manager Plus. A link for Patch Manager will be shared with you, a demo link where you can also play around with the demo and see what this solution can actually achieve. The overview of this video will be shared. The proposal sample on Patch Manager will be also shared, and the deal registration portal where you can register your deal for security and also for more discount from the OEM. All these will be shared at the end of this webinar. So now let's go to our question proper. So I will be happy to answer our questions here on the chat box and also on the Q&A tab. So I guess some of these questions have been answered by Anurika, and also
there are some that is yet to be answered.
Oh, okay, great. So you can as well help me in looking out for those questions that have not been answered, Anurika.
Okay, so Justice Chimi asked whether the application can manage these OS types. So the OS types that you mentioned there, they're mostly network devices. Cisco switch, they're mostly network devices. So Patch Manager Plus is just for endpoints. They're not for network devices. They're just for laptops, servers, desktops. Those are the three things they support, the endpoints they support. So with Patch Manager Plus, you cannot manage network devices.
Okay.
So Olawale asked, can your solution manage various Windows Server editions from 2008 to date? Yes, it can manage different Windows Server editions, but 2008 till Windows Server 2008 till Windows Server 2012, they've already reached end of life. What the application is going to do for you is going to show you those missing patches, but nothing can be done because Microsoft doesn't support those operating system anymore. So it's either you upgrade them, upgrade the OS, or you yank them off from your environment. So if it's from 2016 and above, 2016 and 2017, that is still current. So they've not reached their end of life yet. For Windows operating system, Windows 7 is already have reached end of life. Windows 8 have reached end of life. Windows 10, some versions of Windows 10 have reached end of life too, such as Windows 10, 1908. The current Windows 10 is Windows 10 21H2. So these operating systems can be managed, but patches cannot be deployed to them because they've reached end of life. I would like your team to schedule a demo for this use case in area of event viewer log monitoring. So Patch Manager Plus doesn't do event viewer log monitoring. So we have an application that does that. So that one is called Log 360. So it does the log monitoring. Patch Manager Plus doesn't do that. So, and also scheduled OS patches. So Patch Manager Plus can perform this function. So you can automate it. That's scheduled. So you can automate the process of OS patches using Patch Manager Plus. So if you want a demo to be scheduled for you, you have to contact Henry, and from there we take the process. You have to contact Henry, either call him or send a mail to him. He's going to share his email address after this question and answer session. So the same Olawale asked, customers who have bought this solution last year or before then, do they benefit all these features? Yes, they do, but it's dependent on the edition they bought, whether they bought the professional edition or they bought the enterprise edition. The enterprise edition is the highest. Under the enterprise edition, you can be able to patch your BIOS, you can be able to automate patch deployments, but professional, you cannot. You can be able to test and approve, but with professional, you cannot test and approve. So there are some differences between the professional and the enterprise. So depending on the license that the customer purchased, as at the last year or before, they'll be able to benefit all if they have the enterprise license of the application. Can you share the questionnaire with us? That's from Davis. Yes, questionnaire will be shared. That's Henry will share the questionnaire after the webinar tomorrow, because we have another session tomorrow. That's for mobile device managing mobile devices. That's what we are going to talk about tomorrow. So if you have any other question, please type them in so that I can answer them.
Thank you, Anwika, for answering those questions. Thank you so much. We want you to drop in your question because we have a few minutes to end this webinar. We are also open to questions after the webinar. You can reach out to me. You can send a mail to me if you want some clarifications on other materials that you could need to push to your client to you will need to push to your client that would need this solution. We'll share with you. And also, you can reach me at henry.agbonze@swantait.com. I'm going to type in that right at the chat box right now. Should you want to reach out to me, you can do that. And I believe everyone here has my email. Let me just assume that some other do not. I'm going to share it right now. So here is my email. So we will share the questionnaire with you guys at the end of the webinar. We will ensure that questionnaire will be sent to every one of us that is present here. Before you registered, we have your emails, and also we're going to share it to every one of us that are present here. You need not to worry about that. So just we're still waiting for you to drop in your questions so that we can answer some of those questions that you sent. I don't think there's any other one here. Okay, I want to assume that there are no further questions. Okay, there's a question from Victor. Thank you, Enrique, for the insight. Okay, just a comment. And all right, so questions as regards what we've learned today, and I want to believe that every one of us have has actually learned something that in this webinar today, and I want to advise and also encourage you guys to not just drop it. You just push the solution to your client. Every organization wants patch manager solution, so it's just for you to share the needs why they want it, so to your client. So that's what you should do. And the reason we are having this webinar monthly is because we want to get to the point where every of our partners can demo ManageEngine solution. So you need not start waiting for the distributor to assist you in demoing the solution. So that's why we want everyone to know how to demo, know the solution. It's only what you know that you can sell. So I want to encourage us to push this solution to your client. If you need any assistance, reach out to me. I would be glad to answer. I will be glad to respond to your request. So once more, I want to thank every one of us for taking time out to join this webinar series 1 for unifying endpoint management solution. I want us to take also be a part of the webinar that is going to come in up tomorrow, and that will be on mobile device manager. Plus, we have saved the best for the last. So I want you to take advantage of that also. The same time, the same day, tomorrow, we'll be having that webinar. And like I said at the cost of this webinar, that this is going to be a series. ManageEngine has a unified endpoint management solution. There are different solutions going from the endpoint security and endpoint management. So we are going to treat each of these solutions individually. And that is why I teamed this as series 1. In our next series, which should be our next webinar, we're going to treat other solution on endpoint management solution. So once more, I say thank you to every one of us that has taken time out to join this webinar. I want you to take advantage of tomorrow's webinar, and we'll be happy to see you here too. And also, let me just whet your appetite on what we're going to have tomorrow. That you have a client that has mobile devices shared among their staff, and they are worried about what these guys are using their mobile devices to do in their environment, wherever places they are. They were worried about if these mobile devices got missing, what will happen to information that is in these devices. You need not to worry about that because we have a solution in-house that can handle that. Okay, so they are worried about if these guys that were working for us can as well move our files, some of our documents down to people that we don't want them to have access to it. So those are these things that most clients are worried about. But with this solution that we are proposing, we're going to have in tomorrow's webinar, we're going to treat all the fears of all the fear that our clients have been worried about. So take a part of this, be a part of this webinar that's going to be taking place tomorrow. And I believe that you will not regret joining that webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you once more. Thank you all the partners here. Thank you, Anurika. Thank you, the communication team, for taking my time out to join the webinar. And do have a lovely day ahead. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, everyone. So if you have any questions, just reach out to Henry via the email address that I just dropped on the chat session. So thank you, everyone. Have a nice